So good morning, everybody. It's very nice that you've joined me here. I want to introduce quite an amazing revelation that we are living in such a time here in what we could call the dawning of the golden age. A time when there are remarkable advancements being made in the alternative health industry, remarkable discoveries for generating new life and anti-aging. And you may have heard of such terms as activating the light body. So within New Age circles, within spiritual circles, there is this understanding of a great consciousness upliftment that has been occurring over the several decades now as humanity has passed the threshold of the 2012 doorway, and we are now in a new era of time and space. Some may even say beyond time and space, into the fifth dimensional realm of co-creative reality, where we are coming into our own as understanding the mastership which we can imbibe within our lives, meaning that through the power of the mind and our relationship with the totality of all of existence, understanding this interrelationship, that the interconnectedness of all things throughout creation. Perhaps any of you may have seen the teachings and works of Nassim Haramein. He's one of the great minds on our planet today who has cracked the code, you could say, written the mathematical formulas, explaining unity theory, and actually going beyond theories and factually proving the existence of divinity within creation, that there is a continual feedback loop of information as creation is expanding and learning from itself. The singularity of existence is also non-different from the totality of all things. And so as we are all integrally involved in all of this, we too are comprised of all things throughout all existence. And the information is available to us. Some use terms as the Akashic records. Our integration of our higher self and the activation of our light body is all part of this great upliftment that is occurring now. There have been many ascended masters over the ages, and of course we have heard of our beloved Saint Germain, beloved Yeshua. This is now the age of Aquarius, and the seventh ray, the violet flame, is so powerful in purifying and neutralizing all negativities and cleansing the way for the age of freedom. So the little part I would like to play is, I have had the great fortune to spend a lot of my adult life exploring my spirituality and studying the Vedic scriptures of India under various spiritual masters, enlightened teachers, pure devotees of God, in whose presence much bhakti or love has been transferred and shared with so many throughout the world. And I believe it is the great presence of these wonderful beings who walk the planet, who many of us remain unaware of, but who are certainly blessing all of existence and all beings to become purified and uplifted and reconnected to the source of our existence. And truly, the heart is a magnificent center, being the seat of the soul, where our love can flourish and awaken and expand unlimitedly into higher and higher states of what I will call divine love or ecstatic expression. In the Eastern language, this word rasa, ras, is the taste or experience of ecstatic exchange amongst eternal spiritual personalities. So what I intend to introduce in my coursework here is 3 different stages, what I call the budding stage, the blossoming stage, and the fully blossomed stage. Beginning with the first stage, the budding stage, we will begin studying this most wonderful transcendental literature, which has been available on this planet for the last 5,000 years, thanks to Vyasadeva, a great sage of India who compiled this wonderful literature for the people of the age that we now live in. This is Kali Yuga. This is a degraded and demoralized age. And yet, we have been benedicted in so many ways, which we will reveal gradually through these teachings. But the divine Bhagavad Gita is the song of God. And our Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is a great acharya, a great lineage holder who comes in a parampara, a system of disciplic succession from spiritual masters going back through the ages. And they have carefully handed this knowledge through to the current day. That's why this particular translation is so important. There are many translations of Bhagavad Gita, and some are done promoting a different agenda, not quite acknowledging the personality of Godhead, not quite accepting the literal meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. So we consider this a most authoritative, unchanged, eternal scripture, which is directly translated from the Sanskrit language into English and many languages throughout the world. And so we will be studying this book in depth to understand the nature of the eternal individual and the super soul, God within and without, how God pervades all of existence, how God, even in his unlimitedness, appears in this world at different times according to the degradation of culture. Out of great compassion, he comes in his avatar forms. These are select and very specific forms which are described in the Vedas, different periods of time throughout the ages of time. He appears in an appropriate form to help uplift humanity and deliver the appropriate teachings. So all of these things we'll study. There are so many other wonderful topics, the material modes of nature and how ignorance, passion, and goodness are constantly influencing all living beings in this material world and energy, and how we can transcend these modes of nature and awaken to a transcendent consciousness of realizing our eternal natures and our relationship with the Supreme Being. So as we progress and advance through Bhagavad Gita, we will then study other such books as Sri Brahma Samhita. I have a copy here. This beautiful transcendental literature, again translated directly from the Sanskrit, is a rare book which was composed originally countless ages ago by Lord Brahma, the first created living entity in this universe, who is truly, he's the progenitor of all beings in this universe, and he helps to assemble this material world. He is empowered to do so by Sri Krishna, the supreme transcendent being. And in his meditation, he receives divine instruction on how to go internal, how to appease the Lord's grace, and how to carry out his functions of devotional service. And in this book, he describes the glories of the Transcendent One, Sri Krishna's eternal abode, the spiritual world, and the divine activities that take place there. It's a marvelous and unparalleled literature. So, after progressing through these two books, we will then move into stage 2. Now, this may take 6 months or a year to make it fully integrate ourselves into stage 2, which we'll call the blossoming stage. Then we will study what is called an encyclopedia set of books known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, this great literature, again composed 5,000 years ago from the most magnanimous sage Srila Vyasadeva, who is known to be an incarnation of God, a literary incarnation of God, along with the help of other great personalities such as Ganesh, which many of you may have heard of, who is a scribe. Ganesh, it's a wonderful story how Ganesh was a human-bodied being who lost his head and had an elephant head replaced. He's the son of Lord Shiva. These are not mythical stories. These are wonderful histories of bygone ages and the magnificent things that have taken place. We are so small-minded in our current age, we can't grasp the reality of many of these things. But when you hear them, these stories over and over again in so many varieties of ways, and the expert method by which this knowledge is transferred, by which these stories are relayed, the depth of philosophy and the science involved in these books. The Srimad Bhagavatam is 12 cantos. You can see the size of this book, so 12 of these books. Actually 18 of these books. There's different, this is third canto part 1, there's third canto part 2 and part 3, so even though there's 12 cantos total, each canto may have 1, 2, or 3 parts. Now, the vastness of topics that this literature covers is really the array of spiritual wisdom for all planetary systems. This book exists in higher planetary worlds, even in more volumes. On this planet, we happen to have 12 cantos. It is composed in the Devanagari script, which is the language of the demigods. So this is an eternal language. This is a language of higher planetary systems. This is composed, perfectly composed literature by great realized sages, and it has been delivered to this planet for the specific purpose of uplifting humanity, raising humanity to the completion of spiritual awakening and consciousness, so that we can realize our divine connection with the Supreme Being, and just how intimate that loving relationship is and can be. Now, after progressing through the Srimad Bhagavatam in stage 2, we will also study a book just when you think it can't go any further. We will then study Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This will reveal to us the greatest benediction of this age that we currently live in. So I mentioned before Kali Yuga, which is certainly a degraded age, as you can see all about you in the world today. And yet we see the benediction of humanity awakening. Now, this great literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, was composed 500 years ago. What occurred 500 years ago that probably most of humanity is unaware of? In India, there are millions of people aware of this, and many bhaktas, devotees of God, who revel in this great revelation that is taking place. But as I said before, the Lord incarnates in many incarnations throughout the ages, and he comes for specific purposes. Well, 500 years ago, the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna, and his divine consort, Sri Radha, came combined in one form. This is the form of the golden avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was also known by the name Gauranga, which means golden limbs. And it was recognized even by some Western travelers from Spain, Italy, who were visiting India at the time in doing trade of spices and other such riches. And they heard and saw this 7-foot golden being dancing through the villages of India, chanting the holy names of God, Hare Krishna. And they wrote in their journals and described such a vision. Now, I'm just mentioning this because most of us are living in the Western countries, and we acknowledge when somebody from our historical background may, recognize something and comment on it. But we also see that the great renaissance of humanity coming out of the Dark Ages and into a period of expression that was unparalleled in human history. So at this exact time of the advent or the appearance of this divine incarnation, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu means great divine personality, master, great master. Before Radha and Krishna incarnated as the golden avatar, or as this incarnation appeared, the Renaissance in Europe exploded. Now this is just a side note showing how the influence of this incarnation upon this earth rippled throughout the world. We don't have so much information on what was happening in the Americas, but perhaps maybe it was the decline of the Mayan Empire and so forth, and the Spanish conquistadors, were coming. But nevertheless, the Lord Chaitanya spent 48 years moving, doing pilgrimage throughout India, from northern India to south of India, around the whole continent, enlightening and uplifting all of the wonderful beings who were present there at that time, who were hearing the divine chanting of the holy names. So this book describes the wonderful activities and pastimes from childhood to youth to middle age to older age of Mahaprabhu